Today's sutta is quite long, so over 30 pages, but I mean, the study is very long, but the sutta itself is quite short. Because there are lots of beautiful things to say about the sutta. Now, occasionally, I search the internet for suttas, especially sutta study group, and occasionally I find that many of those groups, especially the serious ones, they know the sutta discovery. They do use our suttas. One of them make a very interesting remark. He says, "Oh, you know, this Piya Tan, he translates the sutta, but he gives so much information. He talks a lot about the sutta." Now, this is called a commentarial tradition. What I'm doing is I'm so happy to know all these materials available to me over the years, over these 50 over years, and putting them all together systematically so that I can remember them. And at the same time, I'm also sharing it with others. A lot of other people feel very happy, very excited about all this amazing information about the Buddha's teaching becoming clearer as our practice in our life closer to the Buddha. So you find there's a lot we can know by studying the sutta and connecting with other teachings here and there. And that's what the notes are about. Now, today's sutta is called Deva-Asura Sangama Sutta. You notice Devasura has got this little heart or cap sign here. Okay, so this means that two vowels joined together. Usually, in this case, they're the same vowel, Deva Asura. So they join, they become Devasura. So it's like a macron. It's got a value of two bits, Devasura. Deva and Sura. In this case, it's what's called a dvandva. It's a twin compound. So it translates as Deva and Asura, or Deva between Asura. Now, so this is the thing about Pali. It is versatile. So you can translate as Deva and Asura, Deva between Deva and Asura, and so on. Okay, and but the Pali word is Deva-Asura. But here, notice the ending is just a normal short A, Deva-Asura. This is called a stem. Or in grammar, it's called a vocative, calling someone. Okay, so you don't usually find this form in the suttas. This is only found in the dictionaries. The heading is a Devasura, or Asura, or Deva, the short masculine singular R ending. Now, this word Sangama means war, battle. Okay, so in Thai become Songkram. The Thai they use a Sanskrit, so Sanskrit is Sangrama. Okay, so they shorten it, it becomes Songkram, meaning war. Sutta means teaching, going back to the Buddha's time. The discourse on the Deva-Asura War, and this is in the Anguttara A9 book of nines, nine subjects. We'll find out why 9 in a while. Sutta number 39. Now, the suttas sometimes are arranged differently. So here you see A:BE. BE means Burmese edition. Okay, so you got CE, Sinhalese edition. CE stands for Ceylonese, Sinhalese edition. And then you have SE, Siamese edition. We use the word Siamese because even long ago, when Thailand was Siam, we have this Tipitaka. And then you have EE. EE is the European edition, that is a PTS edition usually. And you find in the Burmese edition, the numbering is different. So it's this one number early, it's 9.38. But as long as you search the sutta, you'll find it's there. So this is our Pali tradition, right? And the theme is in our battle with Māra, we are only safe with a liberated mind, with a focused mind, the mind free from thoughts. So this is a war sutta about war in high places, if you like, have divine wars. No? So why is the Buddha using this? The Buddha is using these stories to show us that there is always conflict, even among the gods. They have conflict, and then the Buddha talks about our mind is also in conflict, and Māra is always trying to distract us. So Māra is the enemy, so to speak, trying to distract us in that sense, his enemy. And then the Buddha talks about what are called the 9 progressive abodes. Nawa Anu Uba Vihara. That's how you got the number 9 here. Okay. This series of 9 meditative stages are very famous and very well known in the early suttas. How do we get the 9? You have the 4 form dhyanas, and then the 4 formless attainments, and number 9 is the cessation of perception and feeling, or simply for short, cessation, or cessation attainment. And this last one, this last stage is only attainable by non-returners and arahats. We'll come back to this in a while. Okay, so let's look at the sutta and what the Buddha is talking about through these stories. So let's go down to the sutta itself. Page 150, there you are. Deva-Asura Sangama Sutta, the Discourse on Deva-Asura War, A9.39. Now, let me first tell you about the asuras. I have mentioned this before, but I think many of us have not heard it yet. You can see the subtitles here, the asuras defeat the devas. Now, if you look at this word asura, the A in front is a negating particle, all right? So if you take away the A, the A, it is sura. Now, sura by itself means to be brave, to be kind of powerful even, right? Sura. Of course, you know the word sura in Surah Meraya, meaning strong drink, because the drink seems to make people strong. So that's the idea of strength, sura. And the word sura is also a name. It's also a synonym for deva, right? So in a sense, sura also devas, but here is asura, non-devas or anti-devas. So sometimes the word asura is translated as the titans, in using the story of the titans in Greek mythology, who are similarly like that they are fallen gods. So the asuras are fallen gods. What does this mean? What does it mean, fallen gods here? Well, the story starts with Sakra, Lord Sakra. His story goes back when he was still a human being on Earth. He has 32 friends. Oh, actually, he started his social work alone. He was very compassionate, and he was thinking he wants to do good work and be happy and maybe get reborn in a happy state. So he was clearly leveling the road. You know, those days they do not have roads like today. They don't have machines. So the people have, it's labor intensive. A lot of people have to smooth out the road, remove rocks, and pull out stumps, things like that. And not only that, he dug wells for travelers who were thirsty. He built rest houses, and then his wife, he had 4 wives. They also the gardens also, so they also were involved. So his whole life, he did this with his wife, and then 32 other people were also, who was his old friends. They were very inspired by his action, and they joined him. So this went on their whole life. Okay, and there's a separate story on this. The king also was impressed. And so, of course, there were some jealous people who wanted the glory and so on, and in the end, his name was cleared. So, and in the end, of course, he passed away, and then they were all reborn in the heaven of the 33, because Sakara is the 33rd Davatingsa, yeah? 33. And now there's a bit of humor here, in a sense, a bit of wry humor. When Sakara and his companions, his companion devas, arose in the heaven of the 33, there were these old gods there, the asuras were there. And they were enjoying life as they were drinking, getting drunk, so they were drinking sura, and the sura were drinking sura. And so this Sakara was a very morally virtuous person. And in Buddhism, you see him as this really wonderful, very good guy, unlike his origin in the Vedic stories. So he discussed with his companions, says, look, this is terrible, and we are in this really good place, but here these old gods are simply messing up with their lives. They're not living moral lives and so on. So, but as you know, this Sakara is not awakened yet, so he has all these ideas about, he wants the place to be the way he thinks. So since the old devas were drunk, he got them all pushed down from the heavens, and they fell down from the sky into the ocean below. Okay, so this is a very much like a Greek mythology story. Okay, and this has to do with the ancient cosmology of how the ancient Indians viewed the heavens. Okay, so they have this central, like axis mundi, the kind of center of the galaxy, like a Milky Way. See? But of course, it's a bit hazy, because you must imagine you are 2,500 years ago in India. It's not like today we can talk in exact terms. We have photos and we have books and scientists who talk about all these things. We have telescopes. They don't have all these things. So you only have its imagination of people and what the older teachers will tell you. So they imagine this mountain, right? Like the Himalayas, just as the Greek imagined the Olympus. Those are the abodes of the gods. And these high mountain peaks, they reach up to the sky, of course, into the heavens. So the idea is that the Tawatingsa is just above the peak of this very high mountain. In a sense, you can say to the Indians in ancient times that the peaks were much higher than what we imagine today. So what we know today, that is, we can measure the height of the Mount Everest and so on. So these ancient Indians, to them, the two of these heavens, two of the lower sense world heavens, they are said to be earthbound. In other words, they are just above the earth, so to speak. They're very near the earth. So you find these gods interacting with humans. So very, very similar to the Greek mythology, if you notice. So you have the first layer that is called the heaven of the four great kings, Chatum Maharajika. This is the first heaven, the lowest heaven. They are like guardians of the next level, which is second level, that is Tawatingsa, right? So there are four great kings. They're called four great kings because they guard the four directions: the east, the north, the south, and the west. Okay, so they got the four directions. My understanding is that I don't think they're guarding the four quarters of the earth. Sometimes interpreted that way. I think the four directions refers to Tawatingsa. They were guarding Tawatingsa. They're guarding the gods from the asuras in this case, in our story here. So you find these lower heavens of this four guardian deity, the four great kings. And if you have read the Dhyana Sutta, which has been translated and some we are proving it, you find King Bimbisara was born among these four great kings, right? And then you have Sakra in the heaven of the 33. So you will, in this story, in this sutta, the devas and the asuras are at war. So this, why are the asuras, why do they want to fight with the Buddha? I mean, I'm sorry, with the devas. You find, I already told you the reason. They were, what shall we say, physically dislodged, pushed down from the high heavens. And of course, being asuras, I mean, remember the asuras were also devas. They didn't die. They could fall from the great heights down into the great ocean at the below the world mountain, if you like, the Mount Everest or one of those sacred mountains in India, very high mountain. You have to have this ancient imagination. So there is this deep ocean around this galactic mountain, very deep ocean. And to the ancient Indians, these oceans are amazing. They're beautiful. It's a world unto itself. And so the asuras made that undersea world their abode. Okay? So they have all these psychic powers. Remember, they're devas anyway. So they all inhabited this under the sea kingdom or abode, if you like. And of course, there are many asuras, not just a few drunken ones. So apparently, they're all down there. There were no more asuras in the heavens. So the Sakra and the gods of the 33, they have their own heaven, and then again the Dhyana Sutta tell us that all those good people, lay people practice the precepts and they have good karma, they're reborn in the heaven of the 33. And of course, some of them go to higher heavens. But the heaven of the 33 Tower things was very popular in the stories, Indian stories. But here we have the Buddha using this story of the battles between the devas and the asuras to illustrate a point. Now, first of all, the Buddha had to capture the attention of the people by storytelling, right? So, I mean, nowadays, if you give a talk in a temple, you may be asked to use modern technology. You have videos, you have slides and things like that, okay? But they don't have those things those days. So all they have is sound and words. Well, I would say only sounds. The sound of the word. There was no writing. Writing was not used to teach Buddhism because they regard writing as very worldly. That you can't really, pay proper attention to the letters. And most people do not know how to read. They were illiterate. They were farmers and peasants and so on. And to know Dharma, you have to go directly to the teacher so that you not only listen to the teaching, but the teacher also corrects your behavior. This one aspect is very important, which is forgotten and often missing in our Buddhist training today. You find people can read lots of books or study a course somewhere, and then you get a title and you think you know Buddhism. So, of course, learning Buddhism is amazing. It's really interesting and exciting and useful. But remember, that's only the basis of it. You start there, and that helps you to go deeper into your own practice. When you read the suttas, you understand it better. You connect it to what is the purpose that the Buddha taught the Dharma. Not to tell stories, not to tell stories alone anyway. The stories are fingers pointing to the moon, right? Now, if you point the finger to the moon, you find 4 of the fingers actually point towards you. Of course, if you put the thumb in behind the other 3 fingers, right? So it concerns you, in other words, concerns us, self-effort. All right, so The story of the battle or the battle imagery here shows that there is always this conflict we have with ourselves. And in meditation, we face ourselves face to face. And we have to like tame ourselves through meditation. So although we talk of the devas and asuras as two parties in ourselves, we are challenging our own self. We are building up our mind. We're trying to focus our minds with that kind of battle. So let's look what happens in the first part here. It's a very simple sutta. That is why I give you a bit of introduction. The asuras defeat the devas. At one time, bhikshus. So once you see this, you know it's the Buddha talking. At one time, bhikshus, there was a battle between the devas and the asuras. In that battle, the asuras were victorious, and the devas were defeated. Defeated, the devas fled north, pursued by the asuras. Then it occurred to the devas, the asuras are still pursuing us. Let's engage them in battle a second time. Now, I don't want you to just read this. I want you to imagine the Buddha is talking to a group of ancient Indians 2,500 years ago. So they were, really excited listening to this. Wow, a Deva story, and the Devas are fighting the Asuras. So the Buddha is telling them this. So imagine the Devas losing a fight. So these Asuras were very powerful, that they were chasing the Devas across the heavens, and this Sakra was riding away in the chariots. And then they say, wow, this is terrible. We're being chased. Why don't we turn back? Okay, so let's counterattack. 2. A second time, the Devas fought a battle with the Asuras. Wait, I missed something here. Okay, they engaged in battle. So they decide to fight again, second time, all right? Then 2, a second time, the Devas fought a battle with the Asuras. And a second time, the Asuras were victorious, and Devas were defeated. Defeated, the Devas fled north, pursued by the Asuras. Then it occurred to the Devas, the Asuras are still pursuing us. Let's engage them in battle a third time. A third time, the Devas fought a battle with the Asuras. And a third time, the Asuras were victorious, and the Devas were defeated. Defeated and frightened. Okay, now in the third part here, we have the word bhita, frightened, terrified. The Devas entered their city. This time they decided not to fight. They went back into their city. After the Devas had entered their city in the Tawatingsa, it occurred to them, now we are secure from danger, and the Asuras cannot do anything there should be to us here. No? So there you are. So we need proofreaders. No? The Devas are secure, and oh no, this is correct. Here, this Asuras was saying, now the Devas are secure from danger, and we cannot do anything to them. So the Devas were safe. Now, you notice in this sutta, the word defeated is mentioned 3 times. Now, when we see modern war movies, the word defeat is not a very good word. People get killed, thousands die. Now, the interesting thing, when you read all these stories, this kind of Deva and Asura wars, no one really dies. They get hurt, but no one dies. They're Devas. So they don't die. No weapons will kill them. So if you let your mind open up, you find these Devas, they're like children. As children, as kids, we love fighting. And we love war, what do you call it, just to act it out. And we pretend to get hurt, and we pretend to run away, we pretend to attack, right? So it's very much like that, all these stories. But it's very exciting. The fear is real, and according to the sutta commentaries, these devas do get hurt, but that's it. No one gets killed. They get hurt. But in the Greek mythology, the devas, the gods do get killed. You know? Anyway, so in this first part, the asuras were victorious, but not the devas. All right, now this next cycle, we have the tables turn. The devas defeat the asuras. In the past, bhikshus, a battle was fought between the devas and the asuras. In that battle, the devas were victorious and the asuras were defeated. Defeated, the asuras fled south. Okay, so south is their own world, going back to their ocean abode, if you like, pursued by the devas. Then it occurred to the asuras. The devas are still pursuing us. Let's engage them in battle a second time. So you see this repeat performance, right? Let's go further down 5. A second time, the asuras fought a battle with the devas, and a second time, the devas were victorious, and the asuras were defeated. Defeated, the asuras fled south, pursued by the devas. Then it occurred to the asuras. The devas are still pursuing us. Let's engage them in battle a third time. A third time, the asuras fought a battle with the devas, and a third time, the devas were victorious, and the asuras were defeated. Devastated and frightened, the asuras entered their city. After the asuras had entered their city, it occurred to them, now we're secure from danger, and the devas cannot do anything to us. It also occurred to the devas, now the asuras are secure from danger, and we cannot do anything to them. This is the story, right? So imagine the Buddha telling this story and capturing the attention of everyone. So once they are ready, then the Buddha gives them the Dhamma, which is the second part here. All right. So all these are preparing the audience for the Dhamma. So, but it's not just a story. There is a kind of system here. There's kind of symbolism here. You find the devas for the asuras, and then they retreat to their heavenly city where they are safe. So you have a safe space. That is your meditation. When you go out there, they have a lot of problems. So same thing with the asuras. So when they went out, they have difficulties. Then they go back to their abode, they are safe. So here, this is my own interpretation. Whether you're Deva or Asura, whether you're good or bad, you can still meditate, and you can get a safe space in your mind when you meditate properly. Right? So now in the second part, the Buddha is going to talk about Māra. The Buddha is going to talk about the 9 abodes, 9 progressive abodes. Okay, now I'm going to go on, continue and finish off with the sutta. How to be secure from Māra. Now, Māra cannot do anything to us when we are deep in jhana. Why is that so? Here, Māra represents worldliness, the senses. As long as we are caught up with the senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and of the 6 senses, we are drawn out in 6 directions, like a chariot with 6 horses. So our minds go here, go there, so we can't focus. Basically, that's what it means. And not only that, we tend to do things through the 3 unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. In simple mythology, that is Māra. So in deep meditation, Māra cannot see us. So this is a series of the 9 progressive abodes which show how Māra uses its power over us because we are in meditation. Okay. Section 7. So you find here the brackets 1, 2, 3, and so on up to 9. So now the Buddha goes on with his teachings. So bhikshus, when quite detached from sense objects, that means we let go of all sensing, to focus on the breath. That is why we focus on the breath, because we're letting go of the five senses. Detach from unwholesome mental states, letting go of all negative root, all the unwholesome thoughts and acts and so on. Having attained dwells in the first dhyana. So now first dhyana is explained, accompanied by initial application and sustained application. It is a very subtle action of the mind, directing itself to the breath and then bringing it back every time. And because of this, it is accompanied with zest and joy. Zest is an active feeling of joyful feeling. The joy itself, happiness, is a kind of a bit more subtle, calm, born of solitude. Yes, solitude means freeing ourselves from the senses. All right, the physical solitude, or in a sense of solitude of the mind from the senses. So on that occasion, bhikshus, it occurs to the monk. Right now, here, by the way, the word the monk means the meditator. I can see a footnote here. Right now, says the meditator, I am secure from danger. I dwell with Māra, unable to do anything with me. Notice I dwell with Māra because I still have the senses, unable to do anything to me. Bhikshus, it also occurs to Māra, the evil one. Right now, the monk is secure from danger. He himself now dwells, so that I cannot do anything to him. When I read this section, actually, I get a bit of goosebumps, because it's not Māra is totally unable to do anything to us, but Māra still knows we are there. Māra knows, okay, I can't get you now, you're safe, something like you go to this choke place when you play games as a kid. So Māra cannot touch you. When with the stilling or subsiding of initial application and sustained application, now the mind becomes more subtle. The mind doesn't need to be directed anymore. And by gaining inner tranquility, inner peace, and oneness of mind, focus of mind, the person, the meditator, attains or reaches the second dhyana, free from initial application and sustained application. But still there is zest and joy, born of stillness. Notice this time it is stillness. Previously it was solitude. Here, because you are focused, because of samadhi, and you attain second jhana. And this time, same thing. On that occasion, bhikshus, it occurs with the monks. Right now, I am secure from danger. I dwell with Māra, unable to do anything to me. And bhikshu, it also occurs to Māra, the evil one. Right now, the monk is secure from danger, and he himself dwells, so that I cannot do anything to him, right? So in the second jhana, the meditator is also safe from Māra, right? Now, what about the third jhana? Let's go further down, third jhana. Okay, further down, please, yeah. Okay, the person that attains the third, sorry, we missed two lines about. Let's go back a bit, please. Yeah. Okay. When with the fading away of zest, okay, this time the exuberant joy, the active joy dies down, and the meditator becomes equanimous, mindful, and clearly aware. Notice clearly aware. The mind is clear, but not in the daily sense. The mind is clear in the meditative sense. One dwells and experiences joy with the body directly. The one we feel joy in this third dhyana. Go down, please. Go down. So this is the third dhyana, of which the noble ones declare, happily he dwells in equanimity and mindfulness. And so same thing here. The meditator feels safe, and Māra is not able to do anything to the meditator while he's in jhana. Now he goes on to the fourth jhana, number 8 here, with the abandoning of joy and abandoning of pain. Okay, so feelings all gone, neither joy nor pain. Even with the earlier disappearance of pleasure and displeasure, this is mental aspects of pleasure and pain. Having attained, one dwells in the fourth jhana that is neither painful nor pleasant. This is equanimous. neutral, right? So the mindfulness is fully purified by equanimity, very calm, very peaceful. That's why it is pleasant in that sense. And here again, the meditator is secure, safe from danger and from Māra. Māra can't do anything to the meditator. Okay, Māra says, "I can't do anything to this person, to the meditator." Okay, right. Now we come to the next stage. This time is the formless attainments. They're not called dhyanas. Technically, usually they're not called dhyanas, they're called attainments. Samapatti. When with the abandoning of joy, okay, this is the fourth dhyana. Now number 9, which is the fifth in terms of, if you count in that sequence, you can say fifth dhyana, but it is the first attainment. When with the complete surmounting of the perception of forms, so normal observing of those mind objects in the dhyana, with the passing away of perception of sensory impingement. In other words, the senses are not engaged at all anymore. With non-attention to perception diversity, the mind doesn't see this and that. There's no otherness, not like self and other. It's almost like an experience of non-self. This time, this is the first formless dhyana. The meditator perceives space is infinite. Space is infinite. In other words, here, the object is this infinity of space. And so the meditator, the monk, enters and dwells in the base of the infinity of space. Okay, this is the first formless attainment. Now notice the words are different now. On that occasion, bhikshus, this monk is said to have made an end of Māra. Within the meditation, of course, not totally destroy Māra, but an end of Māra in that context. Put out Māra's eyes without a trace, gone beyond the sight of the evil one. So only in the formless dhyana, Māra totally cannot see this meditator anymore, so to speak. It's a very deep meditation, yeah, right? Then 10, this is the sixth dhyana, which is the second of the formless dhyana. When bhikshus were completely surmounting the base of infinity of space, perceiving consciousness infinite, the monk enters and dwells in the base of the infinity of consciousness. Okay, here the monk meditates, it's very subtle. He comes out of that first attainment, then he lets go of the mind object that is infinite space. He lets go of the object of space, and then there is only consciousness. There is consciousness left. He watches consciousness as the object. Very subtle. No? Now, in the next section, I will summarize for you. It's called base of nothingness. And he reaches this stage by letting go of the previous object, which is the infinity of consciousness. So his object is this space, his consciousness is boundless, infinite. He lets go of that object. So there's nothing left. There's no more object left. And that's why it's called base of nothingness. In a manner of speaking, the nothingness is the object. All right. So this is very refined meditation language. So again, Māra is blinded, cannot see this person deep in this formless meditation. Okay, let's look at the 8th one. That is the last of the attainments. Now, in this case, the meditator even renounces his object of nothingness. So once this nothingness is let go of, there's really nothing left, not even consciousness. So the meditator enters and dwells in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. It's very long term here. It means you cannot say there is consciousness here. Sanya or perception is used for consciousness because it's very subtle. You cannot say that there is perception, nor it is not there. The mind is so subtle, you cannot say it exists or not exists. Very, very subtle. But this is the highest that non-Buddhists can attain. But Māra is blinded by this. But then the 9, the last one, is the most interesting one here. When by completely surmounting the base of neither perception nor non-perception, among enters and dwells in the cessation of perception and feeling, right? Ending of perception and feeling. And having seen with wisdom, his influxes are utterly destroyed. So here, influxes utterly destroyed means he becomes an arahat. So only arahat and non-returnees can attain this level 9. Okay. On that occasion, bhikshus, this monk is said to have made an end of Māra, and Māra is blinded, is not able to see this. This arahat of the Buddha deep in this meditation. Okay. So there you are. This is a kind of a introduction to the 9 progressive abodes in meditation. Now, what's important to note is that you don't have to attain all the 8 jhanas. You only need to attain 1, but you have to start with the first one, with the first jhana, and based on the first, you get the second, third, fourth. And the 4th jhana is the basis of the 4 formless jhana. So they go like that, they go sequentially. So, but at any stage, as you progress, and you come out of the dhyana, because you can't think while in dhyana, there's no thinking going on. You come out of the dhyana and your mind's very calm and clear, and that's where you direct it to impermanence and so on. So at any of the 8 jhanas, the meditator can direct his mind to impermanence and so on, impermanence, suffering, or non-self, and attain stream winning or even arahathood itself, right? So the 9th is the kind of state enjoyed by the arahat and the non-returners. Okay, so these are the 9 progressive stages. So when we meditate, we struggle with the world. Then when we go deep into jhana, we are free from Māra. So the Buddha uses the analogy of the battle between the asuras, the devas and the asuras, to show that we are also in constant battle in our daily life, but through meditation, we calm the mind down, we're able to push away the sources of our distractions and suffering. And the sutta ends here. Okay. So now, take questions. Yeah.
We have our Q&A now. Our sister, I see. Please. Thank you.
Let me read out the first question from Sister Healy.
Yes.
In the sutta, compare Tawatimsa and Tusita. Is there a mention which realm is more conducive for Dhamma practice?
Oh, the most conducive place for Dhamma practice is our human world. Our human world. The heavens are not really conducive. They're like holiday places, you know. The gods spend their time fighting, you know. They have all this joy, and you can't kill them, you know, as long as their karma lasts. So they have little time actually practice unless they kind of come and meet the Buddha. But if they make the effort, yes, it's possible, right? So the human world is the most conducive place for practice because you see the good and bad working together, and then you direct your mind, you can focus. That's why Buddhas arise in this world. The Tawatimsa, Tusita, they are places of great joy and peace. So traditionally, it is said the Bodhisattva in his penultimate birth, at his second last, is reborn in Tusita. He is there preparing to be reborn on earth to become the Buddha, future Buddha, right? So the best place to practice Dharma is just here, right now, in our earth, because this is the real battlefield. You see good and evil every day in our waking life. Okay?
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Okay.
The next question from Sister Helen. Is there any mention in the sutta why Māra always try to hinder the meditator in their progress? What benefits would Māra gain?
Well, Māra is not a person like you and I. Māra is, in a sense, the nature of things, if you like. You have Buddha. Now, logically, if you have Buddha, you have anti-Buddhas. On the other extreme, you have someone who's really unconcerned, concerned with the world in a different way. He wants people to get caught up in the world, remain in the world. So he is the Lord of the world, so to speak, in that sense. So it's a kind of nature of things. It's like, of course, Mother Nature is a kind of motherly depiction of nature in a good sense. Māra is like Father Nature, if you like. He is the evil guy who is really controlling. He wants us to just enjoy ourselves, and as long as we do that, we mess ourselves up. We become like some crazy presidents trying to destroy the country and so on. So Māra is very happy. Okay, so that's the kind of station Māra loves: strife and war, and he's like he likes violent movies, if you like. Only thing, these are reality movies. Okay, so that's Māra. So that's the nature of the world in that sense, right? So why? That's the nature of the world. That's one. It answers itself in that sense. Okay. Okay. Next question.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. There are no more question in the chat box.
Sure.
Any brother and sister would like to ask question, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, Brother Piya.
Yes. Okay, get you.
You can hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Right. Thank you again for the sharing. A few questions. Towards the end, you said something about all the 9 states are actually not required to attain enlightenment or achieve a liberated mind, or are all 9 stages actually mandatory or required?
No, you don't need all the 9. All the 8 rather, because the 9th actually is especially for Buddhas and non-returners, for Arahats and non-returners. So we don't need all the 8. But as an Arahat, you need at least one of the 4 jhanas. Usually, in terms of meditation, the Buddha will speak of the 4 jhanas because the 4 formless jhanas are quite difficult to attain, and also they're too subtle for any useful to help us in meditation, because you feel so good there, so high, so to speak. But it's possible. It's possible. So you just need one of them. Even first jhana is possible. But then there are cases where there are monks who apparently who can't meditate, but they are very focused, listen to the Dharma, and they also can attain the various stages of the path, ending up with being arahats. Okay, so that means they've built up their paramis, their strength over many lives. I'm still working on this paper, SD 62.16, very detailed study of this kind of various kinds of saints of the path, all right, including those who are the Panya Vimutti, who use wisdom and then they are awakened, and then you got the Ubato Bhaga Vimutta, those who are freed both ways, and thus they have all these jhana experiences, including formless jhana, and then their mind also is free from the defilements. So again, the short answer, you only need one of the jhanas. Even first jhana will do. You get into it, your mind is very calm and clear, that you get to jhana to cleanse the mind, and you come out of it with this calm and clear mind, that you reflect on impermanence, or depending on your indriya, on your character, you can reflect on impermanence or on suffering or on non-suffering, right? Then from there you progress to attain the path, even Arahanthood itself.
So, so jhana is actually necessary. It's a prerequisite to attaining a liberated mind.
And some monks would say that, but from what I read in the suttas, there are cases where monks who are very careful, who are mindful, listening to the Dhamma, and I think they need certain kind of mindfulness. Maybe they don't get jhana, but you still can get samadhi. For example, all of us here who do meditation, you find you get yourself into some calm state. And that calm state is important to help us understand the Dhamma and to be free from suffering. So from my understanding, my view is that you can get awakening without jhana also, but not so easy. Not so easy. Okay. Both ways are difficult. You have to really try to make the effort.
So in the suttas, in the early Buddhist texts, there is definitely mentioned that perhaps jhana is actually not required for one to actually.
I wouldn't overblow that statement.
Okay.
We're not saying you don't need jhana. No.
Okay.
We're saying it is possible for some monks who, because of their very great diligence,
right,
and focus, they're able to attain awakening without jhanas. But most of the other monks, if you read their stories, they go through jhana, meditate, and then they get it up within a week, 2 weeks. Yeah. So the rule actually is attaining jhanas. Okay.
Sorry, if I may.
Yes.
In the first jhana, there's this particular phrase, initial application and sustained application.
Yeah.
You just elaborate a little bit on that, what that is.
Pali Vitakka, Vichara.
Yeah.
Now remember, Pali words, you got to see the context. Vitakka in the worldly context simply means thinking. Yeah? Taka means think. Taka means to think. Now in Malay, you got taka, that means to guess, right?
Oh.
Taka, yeah. Malay, you got taka, taki, that is a riddle. Yeah. So taka, and then with the we in front, we is like by, meaning to separate. So you separate your mind, ideas. So vitaka, it means to think. But in meditation, vitaka refers to the mental aspect being directed. It's a kind of, it's not very worldly thought. It's just the mind directing itself to the meditation object. And then the mind that keeps it there, the mind makes sure this attention does not go away. That is vichara, right? Vichara, chara means to search or to study. So vichara sometimes in normal worldly situation is translated as kind of like, thinking, pondering. So vitaka vichara sometimes translated in thinking and pondering in normal daily life. But in meditation, it's called initial application, meaning you initially apply your mind to the object and then you sustain it. So it's called sustained application. It's a bit, bulky, but it explains the function of the words well. But if you listen to many of these monks who are new to the sutta, they're very excited about discoveries. They'll say, oh, and there are other ways of translating. This is a better way of translating vitaka vichara. And you just wait a few more years, you'll come up with some more new ideas. So the translation of vitaka vichara as initial application and sustained application so far is accepted as descriptive. It helps us to understand the function of this mental aspect in the first jhana, the remnants of our thinking. Then in the second jhana, these remnants, this thinking also totally gone. No more thinking. Okay?
Right.
Any more? Yes, question?
I do have another question, but I
Yes.
thought I'll just let other people have a chance first.
Oh, never mind. You just ask.
Okay, so following from that, so if let's say we were to so-called use the breath as an example, right? So we talk about applying or what we call initial application. So it's just noticing the breath, I guess. And when
Yeah.
it comes to vichara, it's more about sustaining the noticing of the breath, or is it more about investigating the breath?
Oh, investigating is something else.
All right.
Yeah. Like investigating, that means you're out of the meditation already. So, but I mean, not so totally out. You're out of the focus, the joyful aspect. Your mind is still calm and clear, and then you investigate impermanence. You notice the breath coming in and going out. You say, oh, this is impermanent. The mind not focused yet, so you can still think like that. That's still mental chatter. Whereas initial application is a kind of the mind silently bringing itself to the object and then keeping it there. So they're quite different in that sense, yeah. The other one's a bit more, you kind of, there's a bit of talking going on, so you're outside the meditation, and then you how to clear away the thoughts actually. And then the clearing away is called wisdom. Then you bring the mind back to that object. All right.
Sorry,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
for example, when you talk about, like in the foundations of mindfulness, when they said, in the sutta it says, breathing in short, they know it's short, breathing in long, they know it's long, or breathing out
Yeah.
the same. Is that an element of vichara then?
I would say, yeah, there is a sense of awareness of this breath, and if you keep bringing the mind back to it, you say, okay, watch this breath, it is long. So you bring the mind back with this breath is short. Yeah, it's applied in that way. But remember, when you're in meditation, you should never ask yourself, oh, is this vitaka? Is this vichara? Then you're thinking already. And sometimes people will ask, how do I know I'm meditating? I like this question because it's very funny. So my answer is, if you must ask the question, you can be sure you're not meditating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're thinking already, you see. So in meditation, your mind is free, clear, and then yet you are peaceful. Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Very good questions. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? It's almost time. So any last minute questions? Okay, no more. Huh? Today, please join me and Ratna to dedicate the merits of this study or this wonderful gathering to her late second sister, Madam Lim Luang Yi, who suffered dementia and late in life. And she finally passed away on the 11th of April. And we had a funeral a few days ago. She was born in 1950, just a year after mine. So she's kind of 1 year younger than me. So I met her, she was a highly intelligent woman, very, very kind of active. It's sort of sad to see how age can take over. And we have to value our relatives, brothers, sisters while they're still alive. Don't worry too much about death rituals. Sometimes in certain cultures, we tend to make big issue of show of funerals and things, when what is most important is to be there for the living, especially when they are old. Now in Singapore, people are getting old, we have long life. People think long life is great, but you get very lonely as you grow old because many of your friends are not healthy, will move on. So if you're younger, be friends to the old folks, talk to them, be kind to them, be there for them, and they'll be happy just for you to talk with them. So when the time comes for them to pass away, then you remember all these happy things, all these good things, and you dedicate the merits to them. You say, may you be well, may you be happy, live long, wherever you are now, be reborn. Remember all the good things you've done. So please send your kind thoughts to her, that she may be well and happy wherever she is. And this is a time also we recite, the monks often recite anicca vata sankhara upadavaya dhammino upajitva nirucchanti te sangupa samosukho. Impermanence of all conditioned things is the nature to arise and fall away. And all this stills down, that is true happiness, true freedom. All right? And there's a time also for you to remember what you've done today. This really wonderful renunciation practice. So this, with all this beautiful energy and wonderful Dharma, wish yourself well and happy. Have a clear mind so that you can study the Dharma some more. And send your kind thoughts to your loved ones, people you care for, even those who have difficulties with you. Send your kind thoughts to them. Wish them well and happy. Picture them. Mention their name if you like. And now we will close by our triple salutation to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, out of gratitude for giving us this wonderful teaching of liberation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.